into extracting corruption virus from the system that has gotten itself used to committing corruption crimes and getting away with it. And of course, corruption didn't just start during the present civilian dispensation. It has started since a very long time, even before the independence in 1960 and all of that. And even in colonial days, there are trappings of serious corruption. Set of people, the politicians, the political elites, the ruling elites that are committing corruption crimes. And because we cannot commit their all into making such laws, and that is also the reason why we have weak laws.
Has fought corruption to a certain level where we can actually clearly say that this 70% stands. So I'm really hoping you can tell me that quickly.
That's exactly what I'm going to. That, okay, there are a number of safeguards, legislations that have been lying fallow over the years that were not operationalized by the previous administration. Look at what has happened with BVN. Look at what has happened with TSA and a number of other legislations.
But these are things that were already initiated by the Jonathan administration. Can we really give credit to the president?
That's exactly what I'm saying, that it has always been there. But there hadn't been political will to operationalize with the TSA. In the olden days, before the TSA was put in operation, several MDAs will open accounts in the name of the federal government, and they could open it in their own name, appending their signatures, and whatever revenue that got into such account will go into private pocket. Then when you look at Act 2, anti-corruption and transparency unit that ought to have been domiciled with ICPC. Like ours, so civil society organizations, and so on and so forth, to launder money on behalf of corrupt elements. And if this is fully implemented, all of these legislations are fully implemented, okay, it will be difficult, if not impossible, for anybody to commit corruption crimes. So implementing those laws has made the Buhari administration stand out above its predecessors.
All right, I'll come back to you because I have so many questions, but I want to throw it to Kolawole. I know that SERAP has come up with so many issues. They have taken governments
female. And the facts and the indices of these assessments bear that out. We can look at, particularly for an administration that come into power on the mantra of fighting corruption. So I would look at it, for instance, we can start with the rule of law and due process for this administration. How is that fair? And I think we can all agree that you cannot fight corruption or have a pardon. The power sector came up. You call that January to December cycle, which is good, but that is not enough actually. But it's not enough. What about our budget processes? Implementation of the budget. Is it being monitored? What about the releases? Nearly every agency of government, including the anti-corruption agencies, will tell you that they do not have enough funds. And this is within the context of over 26 billion that's been allocated to the presidency and the vice president's office to travels and various frivolous expenditures, when very important aspects of the economy. To appropriation bill into law and make it, even though with its reservations. Why couldn't he, for instance, have made sure, either by executive bill or through his political party, the process of kind bill could have been passed? And you would understand the importance of that bill in the fight against corruption. What about any kind of whistleblower corruption? I disagree. I don't think.
For the president, neither am I a spokesperson for the ruling party. I'm speaking based on my observation and based on comparative analysis with other regimes before, other administrations before Buhari's. Yes, there are a number necessarily have to work within a political party, and the political party has some influence campaign promises are actually different from administrative policies. When you get to, the podium for campaign, you speak to the yearnings of the people, but you know that it is not only the executive that constitutes a government. You still have the legislature. Every righteousness is even fulfilled, and the judiciary says no. There's little the executive can do to assert itself, and that is why we are.
And decided whatever they wanted to. If the president really wanted to do this, don't forget the APC, and of course, led by Mr. President, when they decided to run for office, they said they were going to bring us change. How much of that change has the president brought to us? Again, the number of people who are the majority in the National Assembly are members of the APC. The same
Not talking. The president doesn't have all the powers to implement the rules, even if he intends to do it. The president needed approval of the parliament. Don't forget that the ruling party is a coalition, a kind not. They can only pretend to agree with the main thrust of the party program. Many of them will not want the fight against corruption to succeed, even when they are working with the president. Several migrated from their hitherto political party to the